Hi, my name is Hany Abu-Assad. I am the writer and director of HUDA'S SALON.
Hello, Hany. Bonjour. So I'm going to ask you a few questions. I saw your film, which is a wonderful film. And I have questions for you. So yeah, I was really, well, I think it's a beautiful film because it's a mix of, you know, it's a thriller, but it's political, but it's also about moral issues, about women and the position and the place of women in Palestinian society and society in general too. I think it's broader than to all society as well, about the fear of telling the truth to their husband, bringing them into this situation. So can you talk about the subject, the core of the film, and why, you know, without revealing too much, why you decided to make a film about this specific subject matter and why it is close to you? Is it close to your heart? Is it something you really meant to say? It was important for you, etc.
Yeah, first of all, it's a true story. I read an article 20 years ago that the Secret Service, the Israeli Secret Service, is misusing beauty salons in order to recruit vulnerable Palestinian women to make them spy on their own society. And they did that by drugging them and then undress them and shoot them naked with another man. So when they wake up, they will blackmail them in order to, in order to become a spy. And I asked myself at that time, like, why they don't go back to, like, why they don't reveal the truth. And I understood that some women in my society, they will be, even they are the victim, they will be punished because some part of our society is like the authority is more important to them than the justice. So because their authority can't reach the Secret Service, they are too powerful, they are, in order to keep their authority, they prefer to punish the victim. So this is I felt like, my God, I should once make a movie about it. I couldn't find, like 20 years, I couldn't find the way to it. I think 2 years ago, my wife asked me if I knew real stories about Palestinian women. And I told her, like, about this article I read. And she said, okay, but what's the story? You know, it's an article. It's a subject. And I didn't know. And in the morning, next morning, I told her, like, you know, I thought about it and I told her the outline of the story. And she said immediately, this is you and you should do it because you put it directly in a thriller. And always I put my stories in a thriller genre, probably because I love this genre. And secondly, because I think the thriller genre will allow you to intensify the story in a way that thinking will be more intense. Because at the end, what I want is to make audience, especially Palestinian audience, to think about this subject. So I believe through a thriller genre, I could reach that better than, let's say, minimalistic drama movie, for example.
Yeah.
So this is the history of it. By the way, it's still happening. 1 month ago, there was another article that the Secret Service is still misusing beauty salons in order to recruit girls. So this is still an actual topic.
Wow, very interesting. I didn't know it was a true story. Sorry, my bad, but it's very interesting that it is a true story and it's still happening, which is, an extreme, violence done to women, right? So basically, how did you feel about, like, for example, the topic of nudity, right? This first scene that's, by the way, beautifully shot in almost just one shot. Like, you have very long scenes, which I think is great, which I think adds to the thriller, because you don't necessarily cover everyone. It's not, it keeps it mysterious. You chose to film it like that to bring this kind of feeling of you're in the scene and not in a movie, basically, right? You're with them. That's a deliberate choice to make those long takes. When she's sitting with her husband the first time and she's from profile out of focus and we just on him, it's a deliberate, obviously, choice. It's a cinematographic choice. And how would you talk about, like, your cinematographic choice outside of the genre? Like, what's your approach of a thriller visually and stuff?
Yes, so indeed, as you know, the first thing you think about after you have a script, okay, how I will visualize it, how I want to shoot it. And the first idea was to shoot all the scenes in one shot, with the idea that the audience will be stuck in time and place, because cutting can manipulate the time and place. So if you shoot every scene in one shot, so you are almost there with every movement they do. There is no manipulation anymore to what's going to happen. And because so the theme of the movie was the touch point between contradiction. I will explain. Now, contradiction, for example, good can't exist without evil. It doesn't exist, good. So meaning that they have a touch point. The touch point is the point where like it's not defined if it's good or bad, but it can flip any second to the opposite side. Mm-hmm. That moment in cinema, I call it the most interesting moment, because it makes people realize things beyond their perspective. So because it's about the touch point of contradiction, so also cinematically, I wanted to do the touch point between the subjective point of view and the objective point of view. So even if it's a one shot, so it is really sometimes it is really undefined if it's a subjective point of view or objective point of view. Meaning, if it's objective, you are just the audience and the camera is just a witness. And objective, the camera is part of the story, part of the character movement and inner conflict. So we played in that concept of the contradiction between subjective and objective point of view, with the notion that it's the audience is stuck there in time and place.
Mm-hmm. So that one unique shot gives us like being witnesses, basically, and we're not. It's neither one. You play with that throughout. Yeah, the thing about the tilt between, I mean, the fine line between good and evil and how it can change from one place. You really feel it in the conversation between in the closed room between her and him, when they're discuss, what she's done wrong, and is she evil, why she did that, and how he hurts her, and she, and then you see her vulnerability and maybe why she did it. It's very interesting moment. It's very it's an interesting parallel to what the other character, the woman who's being chased, is going through. It's an interesting, I think it's very powerful and interesting parallel. Obviously that was a deliberate thing to do. And what did you want people to take from this film? What did you want people to come out and think? I mean, you say you want to speak to, for Palestinian to understand, to get it through the thriller, and not a drama, a realistic drama, but more thriller. So it reaches them. First of all, it's interesting to think that you know, the genre is more able to reach, you know, Palestinian than it is possibly, you know, like maybe Europeans or Americans are more into this realistic drama because that's what they expect from you or from anyone that's not American or European. You know, they want realism, you know, they want you know, it's kind of it's almost voyeuristic in a way, you know, they want to think of certain countries are like poor and simple and, you know, and so it's interesting that you pick that genre, and I think it's very, very strong and very powerful because of that, because it's not expected, you know. Necessarily expected. So no, but I forgot the question. I was like, but basically,
what I want to tell, like what I want to tell, what I want to, like,
to
okay,
tell, what do you want people to come out and feel? You know.
Yeah, it's very simple. Like I want the part of my society that will condemn the victim in order for to keep their authority alive. I want them really to think about it not in a judgmental way. So if I judge him in the movie, so they would be defensive and they won't be open to the idea that actually they are helping the occupier by oppressing their own society. Mm-hmm. So like it's like they have to understand that punishing the woman for being just a victim, she didn't do any kind of crime, is letting the occupier misuse that in order to oppress him. You know, he is the victim too by this. So by realizing this, I am hoping that they will, let's say, will be more open to be more supportive to victim like that rather than just punish them. This is my first goal. My second goal is, as always, I want a challenge. I don't want to make an obvious movie. You know, for me too, for example, I never shot a movie in handheld and the whole movie was shot handheld. So I never did that. Mm-hmm. I never did, you know, the one-shot scene. And you can see actually in the beginning, I was struggling. Like I see when I shot the first scenes, this was under the ground, for example.
Yeah.
So I was really struggling with the mise en scène, how to move, how to like, but slowly I became better in the, you know, it's also a challenge to me. I want to challenge myself and to see if I can do something else that it's suitable for the story, not just to challenge. And the last thing, what I want is actually to be witness on our history, you know, like at the end, you know, in 100 years from now, we will be stories, just a story. And I hope my movie will tell the real story of victims in Palestine that have been victimized from the Secret Service, but also from their own society. In a way that it's kind of with a lot of love, let's say. I have no anger towards anybody, but it's a kind of portray of what's going on. So
because it's clear from the man underground, I forgot his name, but he's an actor you've been working with many times. What's his name again?
Ali Suliman.
Yeah. What's interesting is you see that he's caught in a system. He doesn't necessarily want to kill this woman, but he cannot not do it. You know, he doesn't, you know, you can tell that it's not so much the individuals as it is a system that pushes people, because like, what is he going to do? Not shoot her? You know, like he has to with all the other guys, like he would seem weak, or, you know, it's almost like what we're going through now with the war and stuff. It's almost like people are so scared to seem like they're not part of the system that's pushing them to do terrible things, you know? Yeah, and definitely, I think the film is clear to me, and I hope it does send a message that indeed, you know, by being oppressive to women, you actually hurt your own society or your own fight, you know, because clearly, if she were to talk right away to her husband, it will be the end of the the problem, you know, but it's the fear to her husband, it's the fear. And at the end, it's clear, the very last shot of her when she's crying, you can tell that she doesn't know, to survive, what does she have to do? Help the Secret Service to get out, or, you know, help the other ones to get, you know, she doesn't know where she's safe. There's no safe spot for her, you know, and I feel it's, to me, that was the last message, was like, there's nowhere safe for her anymore, you know, it's over, she can't, you know, so that's very powerful, I think, in that sense, you know. I have more questions, sorry. Yeah, what about the nudity? Like, how do you deal with the nudity, that scene, which is very powerful, by the way, and absolutely terrifying, because I wasn't sure, because I didn't know this, I didn't read anything. I love to watch movies when I don't know anything about it. And I was like, oh my God, is she dead? Did they kill? I mean, like, I didn't know what was happening at the beginning, and it was really good to not be sure of what's happening. You know, in a way, sometimes it's a blessing not to know too much. So tell me about the nudity and that specific scene that opens the film.
So as I told you, the theme is about the touch point of contradictions. Usually nudity in movies are, you know, let's say erotic. Mm-hmm. They are like, it's meant to be sensual. But in this case, it's the opposite. So I really, not just in, like, even in light, even in, like, the whole movie is about how anything can become its opposite. Let's say the freedom fighter can become the criminal, and the traitor can become the good guy, and, you know, and then the blue color, for example, can become red, and the red can become blue. But also in nudity, like, nudity can become really ugly when it's filmed that way, let's say, the way I filmed it. So this is from the cinematic point of view. From the realistic point of view, it is actually terrifying to do such a scene in Palestine, because, you know, nudity is very, you know, it's a big taboo. And I salute the actress. It's the first Palestinian actress who dared to be naked in front of camera. It's not easy. But she did it because she felt, why she did this movie, I think, because she felt she needs to visualize what happens to this woman. Although she will pay the price maybe for that, she needs to show what's going on, you know, and it's a witness, actually. She wants to be a witness somehow. And she did it, and she was very brave. She's so brave, Julie. She did not dare to be just physically naked, but also emotionally naked.
I know, she's amazing.
Difficult it is to be emotionally naked, and she was. I was amazed by her braveness. I think why? I think she felt with the woman, with the character, with the story of this woman. She felt like we all want to fight injustice, and this is her contribution of fighting injustice, I think.
You know, basically, I was wondering how do people take this kind of performance? You know, when you showed it to them in Israel and to Palestinian, like, how did that work out? Did people see it? Were they shocked? I mean, I know the group, it depends on, you know, there's a wide variety of people. There are people, obviously, that are directly concerned, you know, people that are obviously, you know, that understand that this is a real issue, the position of women in your society, in one part of it, because it's not everyone, obviously, right?
Yeah, sure. So far we have closed cinemas, so it's not did not open yet. But okay. So far we show it in festivals, Arab festivals, and in you know, in a special screenings. After every screening, I especially look to the faces of women, and I could see the like, let's say, the nightmare they lived and they can understand this very well. They were very moved by the movie. I think it spoke the most to women in our society because they truly understand what's going on. And they felt it portrayed their nightmare, actually. Like why it opened the wound of almost every woman will tell you like she was afraid to tell the truth. You know, it's like they spoke openly after the film about it, that fear of telling the truth is so real in the movie that they lived intensely with the characters and with the story. So far I'm very satisfied with the reactions, and I hope when it opens that we will get more good reactions.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see really that you are addressing a subject matter that is so important, which is like by having a society when one big giant, which is half of the society, cannot tell the truth, it's basically very destructive. And you know, I think we've gotten in a place, you know, in Europe, in the US, where people can sort of tell the truth, but not always, because depending what business you're in, you know, you can't completely open it. And a lot of people are still being quiet for fear of, you know, being punished for telling the truth. You know, it's not just, it's all society, you know, and then eventually people tell the truth, but there's, you know, consequences sometimes. You know, we still live in a society where women are not completely, or people in general not everybody is allowed to completely tell the truth. So it's to me, it's a very interesting subject matter, and how it affects society and how dangerous it is really to its own society, but definitely a beautiful subject matter. And and in Europe, in the US, in everywhere else, how you know, how was the film? How do you feel the film? Is people really understanding what the film is about, or are they missing the point sometimes? Because I feel like sometimes journalists are not always getting, you know, the depth of a film. Are people responding in an intelligent way? Because not everybody's brilliant. Not that I'm saying that I'm getting it, and it's really, but like some people don't get the subtlety, you know, of what the film is about and stuff. How do you feel people are responding to it?
So far, very good. Unfortunately, I couldn't attend the screenings because of the pandemic. I'm not traveling, but so far from the critics, no, we have so far good reactions from journalists and critics, but most importantly, I believe that you know, it's going to open very soon. Mm-hmm. And what's important, you know, it's not the critics, it's also the normal people, how they will react. And I am really curious to how this will be received by normal, you know, not sophisticated people. They go just to watch a movie and you know, like, I'm very curious. I'm really curious how this will be received. Okay. On the other hand, like you are so right. When we were talking, I realized, oh my God, actually, not just in our society, everywhere, a lot of people are afraid of telling the truth because there is repercussion of telling the truth. And especially nowadays, it's amazing like how people could be punished because they tell the truth. So I just realized I made a contemporary movie, not just Palestinian movie.
No, of course. No, I think it can speak to everyone, because everyone has had a hidden secret that, you know, if you were to reveal it, you would pay the consequences, not necessarily, you know, giant consequences, but it would even portray you as something, you know, she's a victim of this. So in a way, even the press sometimes punishes the victim without knowing really that they're punishing the victim. You know what I mean? Or the people around them. So it's a complex, it's a very, I think, complex subject matter. Even in every society, there's a bit of like that person is tainted, you know, from then on. She's weak, or he's weak because he accepted conditions, or, you know, we live in a society that punishes the victims still to this day, I think, you know. So it's a very broad subject matter, I think, and I know it, and it's always the same story, is that you speak about your world, and yet it speaks to a broader, you know, it's not, you know, it's not one world only. The world is really linked, I think. You know, I don't know, I had many more. So how was it to shoot over there? You haven't been there in a while, or you go back all the time? Where are you right now? You're in Holland, or?
No, I am in Nazareth in Palestine.
You are.
So yeah, it was, it's funny, mostly the occupation was the most difficult element in shooting a movie. But because of the pandemic became the nightmare. Because like with soldiers, you see them in advance that they are coming, but the virus, you don't see it. It can infiltrate, and it can like destroy your set. So we start shooting actually before the pandemic. We had to stop because they closed, like in March 20, they closed everything here, and nobody was allowed even to be at the street. And there was 6 months you are not allowed to continue shooting, or 7 months. And the restart of the shoot was actually a nightmare, because that fear of something in the air that we don't see can infiltrate, it was like terrifying. I have to tell you, I made a lot of compromise because of that. I could make like different shots. I don't know if it's better, you never know, but I could make more and more choices for me during the edit than what I did, because I was very scared that, you know, if people too close to each other, they might, you know, affect each other. They might, you know. So I did a lot of compromise, a lot. I feel like I could make a different movie if it was a normal shooting.
So you mean during the scenes between the actors, you kind of like made choices that were specific because of the pandemic?
Yes.
To not have scenes with a lot of people, or what was the?
Yeah, or not complicated, so that we won't be on top of each other. Because sometimes if you have a complicated shot, you are like you have a lot of people to coordinate, and they are on top of each other. So I kept it simple, kind of. And unconsciously, because I was so scared that someone will be sick and I will be responsible. And in that time, nobody was want to insure Corona at that time, because they insure you but not for Corona. So
no, of course.
God forbid if somebody, and at that time, everybody thought if you will get it, you have a big chance you're gonna die. Now I think I am less scared of it. But at that time, I was very scared.
Yeah, no, of course. Like I remember the time I shot a film in September. I mean, a show in September 2020, and it was very, very scary, because people, if you catch it, you could die. I mean, it was the time where people were dying. So yeah, I mean, they're still dying, but I mean, yeah, no. So I understand it's a huge responsibility as a director, and no, and you really made a great film. And I don't know how it influenced the film one way or the other. Maybe those long scenes and stuff, or whatever, people apart. But maybe it was weirdly enough for the best. You know, maybe it directed you towards towards a direction that was, you know, I mean, you know, it's a beautiful film, so the result is amazing. So I think whatever it did the right thing, you know, this virus. But no, it's an amazing film. It's really profound, really, really, really beautiful, really well, amazingly acted, amazingly filmed. No, congratulations. And I wish you the best. It's coming out on Friday, right? So I'll tell everyone to see it.
Yes, thank you so much. And we will keep the conversation about future projects.
Okay, yes.